What do you want me to do? Go sleep in the backyard until I get let back in the house? Like, that makes no sense.
With the dog. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Lone Limit Podcast. That's right, we back again. I'm your host, Chelsie. This is Ashlee.
Hey.
I'm actually really excited to see you today, which sounds like I'm not excited to see you other days.
Word. Like, what?
I feel like I have so much to talk to you about. And so, I was like, I can't wait until we're recording so I can talk about some things.
Yeah. We definitely have, like, a build-up because of the, like, holding period.
Yes. It's just, like, we send so many reels and we talk about the reels, but, like, we can't really talk about book stuff until we film. So then I'll be ready, you know? There is one thing I wanted to update you on that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
I did have to ban myself from listening to audiobooks while at work.
Really? I would love to know what led up to this.
So I had a health scare. AKA I almost had a heart attack twice this week at work. So what had happened was, right?
Oh my gosh. Anytime you start something about what had happened was. Alright, go ahead.
So I was listening to today's book on my drive into work, and then I popped my little earpods in and I was walking through the office and I was getting ready for the day and I was like, oh, let me get water before I start. But I left my phone sitting on my desk. So I walked away from it and I was listening, and then all of a sudden it stopped playing in my ears.
Oh!
When I tell you, I scurried back to my desk so I didn't cause attention to myself.
Scurrying didn't draw attention? I mean, honestly, I'd rather be caught running than get caught listening.
I was a gold medalist speed walker in the seconds it took me to get back to my desk. Mind you, this was Tuesday, right? So this happened Tuesday. And today, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it, and we had a spicy scene. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting next to my phone too, so I don't know what happened. The sound sort of waved through one ear pod into the other, then went silent, and then went back to how it's supposed to be. And I literally just froze, hands on the keyboard, and just was like, if anybody just heard what I'm listening to. And the palpitations that were happening in my chest. I literally had to take one ear out.
That's a whole workout.
You know what? I did register some workout minutes, so I'm not surprised if it came from that. So I had to finish the book with one ear in and one ear out because...
Just to make sure.
The stress that I was under, because I was at the part like where everything was coming together. Everybody was happy. We were getting our happily ever after. So there was a lot of extra spice. And I was like, number one, it's 9 a.m. So me listening to Spice at 9 a.m. in my office is a little hard to explain away. And then number two, I work in an open floor plan. And there's not that many of us at 9 a.m. So explaining that it wasn't me and it was someone else is not an option.
Is not, yep.
Girl.
I'm glad you made it through, Fred. Because that sounds traumatic.
I told you I had a health scare.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That absolutely qualifies.
Man, my office already thinks I'm crazy because the way I read books, I know I'm on the faster side of things, right? I acknowledge I'm on the speedier side of reading. But my whole office now knows that I'm a reader, and trying to explain that I've read, 60 books in 4 months is kind of hard to explain. And then if someone hears me listening to some spiciness, I don't want to go back in the office at that point.
You gotta like switch jobs, change states.
Witness protection, let me go witness a crime so I can run away,
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Witness protection always sounded horrible when I was younger, but as an adult, I'm like, what is the minimum requirement?
Do I get a do-over?
But all jokes aside, like, we're like laughing and joking about this, but the reality is that like reading romance, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just more so like you're in a workplace, and it's one of those things where it's like you can't pull up to work blasting any song out loud. So it's just kind of like the same like system. It's like there's nothing wrong with what you're reading or whatever. It's just more so just like
no,
in the setting, that's just not the appropriate place for it to be out loud, and that was what the issue is.
Oh my god, I didn't tell you about the other crazy awkward thing that happened at work.
There's more? What? Go ahead.
So we do like a monthly like check-in with the whole department, and they're always recommending books.
Mm-hmm.
And they know I'm a reader. So my boss, who is also a reader, and his wife has a beautiful bookstagram, he knows that I'm a reader of the smut kind. And he still had the nerve to tag me on the thread and say, hey, Chelsea, do you have any book recommendations?
I do not, sir. None at all.
I said, I'm illiterate. I don't read. And then in the meeting, they shouted me out and said, Chelsea, what you reading?
But like, that's a completely different question from what I'm reading versus what I recommend. Just like, I didn't know. No.
Do you have like a go-to book that you lie and say you're reading when people ask you what you're reading and you don't want to tell them?
Yeah, but it changes all the time. It's basically the last like mainstream acceptable thing I read is usually the title I pull up. Like,
I've started lying.
I support that 100%. Here's the thing, and we talk about this often, like, book recommendations are very specific. Like, when people are just like, oh, it's a good book rec, I'm like, first of all, you just blindly recommending something you liked. How do you know I like it? I almost never do. And then, like, me blindly recommending something I like to you is just like, that's a waste. You may not like it. So, like, book recommendations, in my opinion, should be very specific. Like, what is your preference? What is your genre? Like, it should be like a personal recommendation every single time. So when people just genuinely ask that, I'm just like, I go into my same spiel just now about like, it's very specific. So what do you like before I recommend something? And then I go through the Rolodex of books that I've read to be like, this might be something you liked because I enjoyed it for XYZ reasons.
That part.
So I absolutely support lying to the people. You and I both read at a pace that is above average.
Yes.
So we're going to come across more books. Our Rolodex of books that we've consumed is larger than most. With that being said, someone that doesn't read as heavy of a volume as we do, we don't want to waste a book experience for you and pick something that's not for you. So, yeah, please stop asking us this. It's very, it's as stressful to me as Chelsie asking me to rate books. Like, you asking for a book recommendation is that level of stress to me. Please stop doing it.
I just hate when someone...
Also, stop doing it without giving me parameters. I love give book recommendations, but give me parameters. What you like, what interests you. That helps me. Yeah. But just blind book recommendation, I'm stressed.
But what about when someone asks you what you just read? Like, oh, like, what are you reading right now? Like, tell me about the book you're reading.
Clues.
I know there's going to be a lot of authors rolling over in their graves right now, but I will lie and name a classic. Like, I'll be like, oh, I'm reading Pride and Prejudice. Or I'll be like, oh, Interview with a Vampire. Because there's never going to be a follow-up question to it, okay? No one's going to sit down and start debating with me the characters of Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, okay?
I'm pulling up Shakespeare only then. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful and name a book just in case you get that one.
Oh no, outlier. I do know this, but it's funny because I don't love reading classics, but there's a few that I've read and I liked, and I do know enough of them that I can absolutely name them and have a conversation about it. It won't be an enthusiastic one because, but yeah.
Yeah. No, there was like a solid month where I lied to all the guys in the gym and told them I was reading Harry Potter.
And then you went back and reread Harry Potter?
I literally was sitting there reading Fourth Wing, and it was like a sex scene between the two main characters. And they're like, oh, what are you reading? And I was like, Chamber of Secrets.
That's hilarious. People have been trying to get me to read Fourth Wing. I'm not there yet.
I want to be a fantasy girly so bad, but it's not for me. Okay? I respect it. But, like, literally, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I went to my coworker who was making me read it, and I said, you have to send me photos, all right? I don't want to go and ruin it for myself and accidentally see a spoiler, so you have to send me pictures of these people, because I have no idea what the hell I'm reading right now. I was like...
Oh, so funny. My thing with fantasy is I have always been, like, a realistic fiction girl, so it's breaking that mold for me, which is fine. I don't love how I have to be like a map conceptualizer, history and dinosaur discography. I don't like that I have to like know and comprehend things, which is so weird to say.
No,
but like because I like realistic fiction because I understand all of the standard norms in the book. The world is like my world, but with different characters in a different place. Fantasy, I have to learn a whole new concept of living, world order, government. Like, I have enough in my head. I'm not trying to learn like that.
I'm already trying to figure out where all the body parts go in these, like, reverse harem scenes. So then you want me to start building a whole nother continent in my brain? No, we're not doing it. Okay?
I remember the one I read, and I was just like, I don't even think y'all did this right. I would rewrite this. And I was like, see, this is why, if my, like, very few steps into it is like, you did this wrong, I'm like, it's not for you, Jay. You're not the audience. Stop complaining.
Yo, the amount of times I've just been like, all right, number one, there's too many characters. They're all dying off. And then I start reading and I just go, who are you talking to right now? Who is this? Where are we?
This is where I'm going to be a very bad book person. I just wait for the movie. I'm so sorry. I can't. I'll wait for the movie. And then the thing is, like, once I watch the movie, they're like, oh, go back and read the book? Absolutely not. Because then I would just be yelling at the whole time that they got it wrong. Like, no. I'm at peace. Let me live, y'all. Just let me live.
I will say, because right now I'm on this whole kick of like reading books from childhood that I should have read, but because of my learning disabilities, I didn't. Whatever. Well, I mean, not whatever. That's a big thing. But sometimes watching just the first movie helps. Like Hunger Games. If I didn't watch that first movie back when it came out, I would have had no idea what was going on. And also, I love being able to visualize the characters. And so if I'm able to like pull the actors that are in the movie or the show into it, oh my God, I'm more hooked. Reading Outlander, having the TV show, oh, I'm in it to win it. I got this. Hunger Games, Katniss, that's Jennifer Lawrence in my head. Don't ask me questions.
Hilarious. So if you have to read the first movie first, and then you can read the book or the series and be fine?
I have to watch the first book.
Did I say read the first movie? Yeah, read it with your eyes. You watch the first movie. Okay. See,
I don't have to. It's just helpful.
My, like, touch in that world was with Twilight. So when I grew up, I was not a Twilight girl. I wasn't like old, but I was on the older end, like when it was like a big popular thing. Yeah. And the whole like vampire werewolves was realistic fiction girl. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then there was so much like discourse, Team Jacob, Team Edward. I was just like, whatever. So I was really not on the train. I ended up reading the series actually because at the time I was coaching tennis and there was this young girl who was struggling to like read, and she like had to do it for school, and she was struggling to read because she was like, it's so boring, and like when I read a book, I don't have anyone to talk to about it. And I was like, listen, pick a book, any book, I'll read it with you, and that way you know you at least have me to talk to it with it. Fantastic. Had no problem with this. I'm thinking she's picking, you know, small book, whatever. She picks Twilight. I was just like, ugh.
Yeah,
I'm actually really happy she did. It introduced me to the world, and I actually got really into it. But, like I said, in terms of, like, watching the movie, and, like, reading the book, watching the movie did help bring a lot of stuff on the page to life. I think it was a lot easier to visualize. But for me, the backside of that was there were multiple times where, one, I knew it was going to happen because I've already seen it, which I didn't love. And, of course, two, being like, that's different. I'm clearly seeing the differences because it was watched and perceived one way versus how it was written originally, which is, like, what it's based off of. So I can understand how that can definitely be an enlightening experience. It just made me very, like, book and producer mad because, you know me, I was like, ah! So it's not for me, but I love that it does give a visual guideline for those that it can help.
Yeah. I will say, Twilight is that one where if I hadn't watched the movie, I would have been out. I would have been out.
Really?
Because Stephanie Meyer literally described someone as olive-toned, like their skin was olive. And I literally just said, what does that even mean? Like, in my head, this person was green at one point and then jet black. I was like, what color olive? Or what does this mean?
No, I'm laughing because I think the exact same thing. Like, when people go like, oh, Italians are olive skinned, I'm like, are olives different in Italy? Because for me, it's green or black. Like, what? But, like, as an adult, I know what people mean when they say olive skin. But to me, olives are green or black. And so either you are beautifully melanated or have a problem, go see a doctor.
Yo, when they're like, oh, her skin is creamy white, I'd be like, what? What?
Yeah, the descriptions were odd. And of course, we kind of can perceive why. But yeah, that was a wild ride.
Oh my God. I'm really excited about today's episode because we are in a different situation than normal here, and I really want to get into this with you.
Oh, I think this is our first setup like this. All right, go ahead.
This is. So, for today's episode, this is the first book that I had read already, but you hadn't.
Yep.
And I'm really intrigued to see what your thoughts are because I read the book BROMANCE Book Club. Too many B's. I read it last August, and I remember downloading you on the book and my feelings on it then.
Yeah.
I will say, rereading it this time brought up some old feelings that I had and magnified them. So I need to check in with you, see what your thoughts are, because there is a villain in this story, and it's neither one of the main characters.
I wonder if we have the same villain. I think we might, but now I wonder. Simply because when we did this before, I had a completely different villain than you did. So, I really liked the BROMANCE Book Club. I really liked it. I thought it was really sweet.
What format did you read it? Did you do audio, or did you do digital, physical? What'd you do?
I feel like I just, like, conjured Chelsie this whole book because I actually pulled a U. I read it with my eyes and ears at the same time, which I never do.
Never?
I didn't do the whole book that way. I don't have the time for that. Okay. I didn't do the whole book that way, but I did large chunks of it that way. Yeah. I can see why you do it and appreciate it. It honestly feels like the best way I can describe it, if no one's done this, because when Chelsie tried to describe it to me, I was, like, confused. This is how I would describe it if you've never done reading an audiobook and a book with your eyes at the same time. It's like listening to a song while reading the lyrics. That's what it's like.
I'll accept it.
Thank you. I love how I, like, waited. I was like, let's see if she agrees. Yeah. It's like listening to a song while reading the lyrics. That's what it feels like. So I predominantly listened to it.
Okay.
But I'm very glad that I jumped in with my eyes in large chunks because I think it gave it extra nuance. And even though I'm not counting it as reading it twice, I kind of feel like I read the book twice instantly because of that. Because I went back and forth everywhere. So, because I am a rereader, so I usually do reread books that I like. No. I kind of feel like I read it twice instantly, which is a weird sensation a little bit. But yeah, for percentage's sake, I'll say I listened to the book more than I did with my eyes. But anyway.
That's it.
I really liked it. I really appreciated the fact that it was a book that was told predominantly from the male perspective.
Yeah. From
a female author. Because I feel like you'll get male perspective books, but it's usually from a male author. Okay.
Right.
But I thought that this one was predominantly from the male perspective, from a female author. I kind of love, because I don't feel like this happens too often, I kind of love that they were married. Like, I feel like it's rare you come across a romance where they are already married. So I kind of like that aspect of it. Yeah. They had their kids were so cute. I can't see them. I don't know what they look like, but in my mind, they were so cute.
Those twins in my head, oh my God, I need to have them both in my life. I just want to be an auntie to them. I don't want to be their parent. I just want to take them out and just spoil them. And I want all the baby hugs. And in my head, they had the cutest little fat cheeks. Just
yes, they have very pinchable cheeks in my mind too. Yes.
Oh, I can't handle it.
So Gavin, who is the husband, he has a stutter, and the daughter, because there's twin daughters. The daughter, I forget which name, but one of the two. I'm so sorry. Twins absolutely deserve their own identity. I do not mean to just but the twins weren't main characters. So, one of the daughters has a lisp.
Possibly.
As of right now, she has a lisp, and this was so interesting for me to
acknowledge it again. They never acknowledge it again. Like, they bring it up at the very beginning, and then it just went poof. And I was like... Well,
when she speaks a couple times, like, the audiobook readers put the lisp on her on her words, which I thought was great. So I knew it was which twin was talking when I was listening. This is the second book that I read that has a speech impediment. And I thought that was very interesting because in both cases it was a stutter. I grew up with a lot of friends stuttering, so it was never like an odd thing. I did learn through them that it can come with a high case of like bullying and other things like that, which is so frustrating because like, anyway.
Mind your business, bully. Just mind your business.
Just like, how are you? Anyway.
Hurt people.
That's exactly it, right. So I thought it was such an interesting like element to it in terms of like his stutter, because it comes up throughout the book, and then also like his concern for his daughter because she has or is showing signs of having a lisp,
right?
But the mom isn't as concerned because she thinks that she'll just grow out of it. And so that ended up coming up a little bit later on, like in a rant, like in a fight later on. But I really thought it was so sweet that like, no matter the discourse that Gavin had with his wife Thea, she never like weaponized or discounted his own speech impediment or his concern for his daughters. Like she was always encouraging for that, which I thought was sweet, no matter like what was going on with them relationship wise.
I also feel like it really did a great service to building him as a character and like his weaknesses. It's like his confidence wasn't there to begin with. Like, it was never really built up. So going into this marriage, the main issue of them apparently just not being on the same page about their personal life, it really did play a part of like why he reacted the way he did. And I thought that was fantastic.
And it's interesting because now that we're talking about it, I didn't really think or process this while I was reading it, but you can also say that might have been a contributing factor to them not being on the same page in bed to begin with. It's like, that's a way of communication that he doesn't have the most confidence in a moment of vulnerability.
So I was curious about this. No, it's not that I disagree. I was really thinking about this time around, the first time it didn't pop in. But it was very interesting to me that they did date for like 3 months before they ended up getting married over her being pregnant. And in that time, he had to have given her the big O at some point. So my question is, when did it stop?
Like, the twins.
No. Because she says the whole time they've been married, he's never made her have the big O, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me before you even got married, you were faking it at that point because you got pregnant before you got married.
Yeah, it was after the marriage, which is like around, like, let's say maybe a little bit before the birth of the twins. And so, you know, right. Pregnancy and body changes and birth. So
I guess.
When I was reading it, I too was questioning this timeline, and I was questioning, this is going to sound weird.
I was questioning her.
I was questioning this pleasure timeline, because I was like, why you working that out, girl? And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me think about this, like, logistically. Obviously, there's more to a relationship than just that. That's fine.
Right.
And then I was just like, it was a quick turnaround marriage. Okay. Good luck to you. What I thought was interesting, they'd been married for 3 years?
No. Maybe. You know, I'm not good with the numbers part. 4 years, maybe?
Possibly. I forget how old the kids are. Because it's basically how old the kids... Not you fact-checking.
Hey. I told you. The bookshelf is based on vibes, but I know where things are, okay? I know.
No, I definitely felt that she should have said something earlier. I definitely absolutely feel that. Now, not to blame a woman. He also absolutely should have recognized earlier. Like, sir, what? But at the same time, for me, it was one of those things where I was just like, okay, 2 wrongs don't make a right. I think both of them hold a responsibility as to why it went on as long as it did, unchecked. But the part that his response to it irritated me so much. Of course, we learned. What do you mean, why? Okay, of course we learned later on with backstory that there was more to that, which I already assumed. But your wife telling you, well, not your wife telling you, you literally finding out live, like your wife, I'm trying to figure out what can I say that I won't have to bleep out. Your
wife faking the big O.
There we go.
And finding out on the biggest night of your life?
No. Not faking it. Literally not faking it. Because that's how it, like, came out. It wasn't her. That was the thing. Like, she still technically didn't tell him. He found out because he was this is different.
He said something is reacting different than normal.
Listen, the math was coming out with a completely different equation this go round. Again, I question how long this goes on, and at the same time, that's to be like, okay, like logistically speaking, I don't remember how many years, whatever they were married. You give birth, your body changes, you have to have a time of recovery anyway. When you guys start back to the activities, you know, you now have kids, you have this, you have schedules, he's gone, when he's back, boom, boom, boom. I understand all those things. So I understand that even though timeline-wise it may have been a couple of years, that logistically time spent was probably not as long of a gap. Because if you think about him being in season and all of his traveling for work, and then because he was on the more famous side of a baseball player, when he was not in season, he still had to train. He still had to go do, what's that? Not promotions. What is those things? Endorsements. Like, so I understand. It's not like as soon as baseball ends, he's on the couch, he's with you every single day, and you guys are like practicing. No. There's still a gap. So I'm just thinking, okay, I still didn't love his response, and I love that Thea, like, stayed on that throughout the whole book. Because absolutely, his response, I did not rock with me.
I'm gonna stick up for my man here. I'm gonna stick up for Gavin. Okay. Here's the deal. She held so much in and never expressed herself ever
Mm-hmm.
and then got upset with the person who's expressing themselves. And I just said, you use this as the last straw in your marriage, but what were all the other straws? Like, you didn't give him a chance to fix anything. And he loves you so hard. And he just said, I need space. I mentally cannot process that I have been living a lie for X amount of years. And everything just kept blowing up in his face. So I'm sticking up for my dude here.
I respect your stance.
That means you don't agree.
Did I say that? Don't put words in my mouth.
That's like when you go to your parents to spend the night at your friend's house and they say, let me think about it. Let me think about it is an automatic no.
You know the answer is no. No, I respect your stance. I really do. I really, really do.
But.
And I agree with you. See? Sit there. Uh-huh. And I agree with you. In the sense of, like, there was a lack of communication across the board. The fact that that was the quote-unquote last straw, okay, but there was communication across the board. The fact that he didn't know all the issues that she was having with the wags. The fact that he didn't know all of the issues that were going on in terms of, like, her decorating wants in that dream house. Like, the fact that he didn't know,
literally anything. And that's what drives me crazy.
Not literally everything. Because I thought he was a hands-on dad. Like, I don't think he was a bad dad or anything like that. It was just one of those things where it's just like, there's a disconnect.
Here's my thing. She was holding things against him without telling him what he was being charged of. Like, when we talk about how ridiculous this is, like, remember at the end when she blows up against the mean girl from the WAGs group and she's like, I'm the mom who had to sit in the ER with my sick twins by myself. I was like, cool. If you're mad at him about that, you probably should have said something. Because this is the man who said, I liked house A, but I knew that my wife liked house B, so that's the house we chose when we moved here. So it's not like he was being selfish and just was like, this is your life now, deal with it. Literally everything was happening and he thought it was perfect, hunky-dory. So she was just a silent sufferer for no reason.
Right.
And that was the part that made my brain go, you're the problem. You're actually the problem here.
Okay, hold on. Let me defend Thea a little bit. I wasn't, like, on her team, but if you go to default to Gavin, I guess I got to default to Thea. This is where I'm like, again, there's a communication issue across the board. And I agree with you in the sense of, like, in those situations, you can't hold those against him. Especially because in that specific reason, it's not him. It's his job. So, with all of that being said, you're stepping into a professional athlete's world as a wife and a mother, basically instantly. That is difficult. That is difficult.
Absolutely.
And I commend both of them for juggling and having such well-rounded kids, even within that world. But again, it's just the lack of communication that kind of frustrated me. And I understand Thea not wanting to talk to him about some of those things. Because again, when he comes home...
You couldn't say right there, don't stop. You couldn't say those phrases, ma'am?
Listen, you don't have a speech impediment, miss. What are we doing here?
Did you give yourself a speech impediment?
I didn't mean to. I promise I did not do that on purpose. It's a sticky situation. And again, this is one of those things where I'm saying I love the fact that it's a married couple because you're kind of coming in with an established commitment, right?
Yes.
Because if this is like a dating situation, you can walk away. Like, what is, you know what I mean? Or you can have the fight about the fact that he's not pleasuring you how you want. Like, those are whatever. But again, dating, married, kids, like instantly, professional athlete. He plays baseball. You know how many games baseball players play? They're like not there.
144?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's an absurd number.
I could be wrong because even though I do kind of sort of follow baseball, it's not as like significant as the other ones. I think they have the longest professional athlete season, no? In America. I can't say about other country sports.
I think hockey and them are pretty close.
Pretty close? Yeah, like to the point in the sense that he's not home. So that's why I'm just like, I understand when he comes home from an away game, like, you not maybe wanted to bring this up or have the fight, but at the same time, the communication needs to be had, so you can't then just be like, that's the last straw, it's done, and he didn't even know other straws were on the floor.
That's what I'm saying. He plays, okay, I looked it up, 162 games in a regular season baseball season, right? MLB.
How many are away, ballpark? About 80?
It's half.
No, it'd be more than that. Yeah.
It's 81. They do half at home, half at
Did I just,
away.
like, on the cuff almost do that math instantly? I'm impressed with you.
I'm going to let you have that one. Listen, carry the one.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Here's my thing. He's home 81 games a season.
Mm-hmm.
And not once did you look at him and just say, I don't want to do X event. Like, the way she gave him attitude over going to his teammate's house for Thanksgiving.
Okay, I understand him being home for 81 days, but you're not going to pick a fight on him coming home knowing he has a game. Like, that's against, like, the rules.
What really pissed me off about Thea, is
I thought
that
it was Thea. The audiobook says Thea, so I'm going to rock with Thea.
Thea.
Okay.
Listen, the problem is I read it one way because I physically read it with my eyes. I actually opened the book when I read this the first time.
Oh, look at you.
And then this time I listened to it on audio, so I'm confusing what I read in my head.
What you put in your head versus what they say, yeah.
But she couldn't stand up for herself, period. When she got mad for having to go to the teammate's house for Thanksgiving, I don't understand why she couldn't look her own husband in the eye and say, hey, the Wags make me uncomfortable and I don't want to go.
Yes, I did not like the fact that Gavin didn't even know that. Because on that regard, I'm not placing any blame on him for not knowing that. Because when the Wags are hanging out, he's doing baseball stuff. So why would he know that? So the fact that he's finding out by an uncomfortable situation and putting two and two together, I did not like that. And so I go back and forth on it because I appreciate the fact that Thea always tried to make it work with the Wags because her husband is on the team.
Right.
So I appreciated her not coming out like, I don't want to say how you would describe a woman in this space because I don't agree with that attribute, but I appreciate the fact that when she was like, well, not like I'm gonna be here long anyway, and kind of really let herself be her, I was like, this is great. But of course, I mean, we don't know this personally because I've never dated a professional athlete. Yeah, no, I've never dated a professional athlete. I don't know why to be like, oh, wait, am I? Yeah. We hear, and obviously from reality shows and other things like that, that it can be a pretty catty, competitive.
Yes, absolutely.
Group to work with. So I appreciate the fact that she never went into it, but like, I'm going to tell everybody the business. And she was kind of just like, I don't want any stress for my husband. I don't want any stress for the team. So just whatever.
Right.
But then in this case, when she's like, well, I'm not going to be here long, so y'all going to figure out what I got to say. I was kind of just like, I wish she would have showed, because she felt like she could have showed up as herself from the beginning. But of course, I understand why she didn't.
It almost felt like she wanted to villainize Gavin from the beginning because even at that Thanksgiving dinner, when he punches his book club mate, she immediately villainized him, even though it was very clear that Gavin was being goaded the whole situation. And I was like, I'm not saying you have to praise him like I would, but what I am saying is like, it didn't need to be a blow up on Thanksgiving. Like, I would have been like, yo, you're acting
in front of company too.
Right. Like, I would have called him out for doing something that was out of the norm, but she was ready to call off the whole deal over this. And I was like, you just don't want him to win. But I will say this. It's not her fault. The true villain was just whispering in her ear the whole time. Okay.
Who's your villain?
Liv.
Yes.
Said it with my whole chest.
Good on us for having the same villain, because this is rare. But yes, I clocked Liv as a problem from jump. And it's crazy because she's a problem, but she's a problem that you can't immediately see from the inside. And the reason why I say that is like from the outside, us as readers, we're like, oh, she's a problem. But from the inside, she's your sister. She's helping you with your kids. She's there. She has the same upbringing as you. She understands where you're coming from. She's there to support you. Because of genetics, she's going to have your back default no matter what. So Thea can't see her.
There's having my back, and then there's just wanting me to be miserable with you. Like, Jay, if I was going through a possible divorce and you came to me and just kept pointing out all his flaws and how shitty of a person he was, I'm going to look at you and go, don't you want me to give it at least another try? Like, you're not going to...
You should look at me and be like, how come you didn't bring this up before I married him?
Oh, that'll definitely be a part of the conversation also, but I just would be like, Jay, why at least let me sit down and make a pro and con list with you. Don't just start. Like, that's still the father of my children. Like, from the inside, I'd still be looking at you like, did I miss something? Did something go on between y'all that I need to know about? Like,
ooh, I had never even considered that. And just
no. I just meant like beef. I just meant like beef. Wait, I just want to clarify. I meant like, did they have their own separate arguments? I didn't mean any hanky panky.
What you did,
the bullfrog said. Like, I just want to clarify that
she was absolutely the villain of the book.
It never changed. Never.
She really frustrated me. She really, really frustrated me because I feel like Thea could have been open and could have been happy so much earlier if Liv wasn't in her ear the way that she was.
Because then it was causing her shame to want to work on her marriage. Yeah. And I was like, that's what you should be doing.
And then this is where I say, like, your shared history, because I understand that Liv will understand why Thea is so skittish about going back to Gavin because of their childhood, their parents' situation. Yeah. But this is where I look at Liv and go, you should be able to clearly see that Gavin is not your dad. You should be able to clearly see that Gavin and Thea's relationship and marriage and them as parents are not your mother as a mom, is not your dad as a dad, and it's not them collectively as the relationship. And that's so significant. Because yes, the shared history, yes, this shared hurt, which is why Thea was very much like, I don't want to go back because I look stupid bringing him back. Why do you care about what you look like? The reason why is because she saw her mom do that. So she has that judgment. And of course, we know the mom was in her ear like, oh, just wait. So it's like...
Moms and I can fight. I'm telling you right now. If she was real, the way I would have searched for this woman and been like, we just come outside. I just want to talk to you. Just come outside. Because how dare you project your BS onto your daughter? She's fallen in love and is happy. Yes, it's happening fast, but like, there's a way to have that conversation of, hey, I think things are happening fast. And the way her mom did it. But both of her parents, I'm not surprised Liv is the way that Liv is, because how did her father nickname his child Shotgun because he had a shotgun wedding to her mother? The hell was that?
That was wild. Wild. Yeah, the parents had a number on them. I'm actually proud of Thea and Liv for coming out the way that they did with that upbringing, and especially Thea because she really stopped those like generational issues with her kids. Like I said, they seem... I read these kids via a book. I did not meet them. I have not seen them. They feel happy, whole, well-rounded, respectful. Like, come on now.
As happy as can be, because they definitely peeped that dad was not staying in the house if something was going on.
Listen, I love their like reasoning for, oh, is Dad's back okay? Their whole I hate baseball meltdown at the restaurant, that pulled at my heart. Because
God.
I fully understand that to these kids, they're looking at it like, my
Baseball's
dad wasn't home.
The villain.
And when he is home, he's not with mommy. They're kind of always angry. Like, there's something going on. Baseball is the problem. Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
I thought the author did a great job of showing it from everyone's point of view that's involved. Like, you got the kids hating baseball. You've got Thea, if I'm right. You've got Thea being like, I hate being a wag. I just want to do my art and be with my man. And then you've got Gavin going, I just want to play baseball and have a family. Like, I could sit here and tell you everyone's point of view from it in that family. And I thought, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I actually really loved Thea's whole, like, I don't want to be a wag thing. Like, separate of all the fights or whatever the case may be, because it really shows that she just inherited some of the things that come with his job.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, at the end of the day, she just wanted, like, I loved watching her, like, fall back in love with her husband. And I love Gavin put in the effort to get his wife back. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, when they say that, like, date your spouse. Like, even when you're married, like, still date them, you know?
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows to me the early stages that was super quick.
Yeah.
Of how there's a general interest, mutual, whatever, and they ran with it.
How did you feel about him using the romance book's words to get her back? Because I wouldn't have reacted as bad as her. First. Here's the thing. I wouldn't have reacted as bad as her when she found the books hidden in the closet. Also, Liv, you ain't bleep for just throwing him under the bus like that. If you saw those books, how long ago did you see those books, and why didn't you say anything then? You held on to that, so you still.
Also, why wouldn't you confront Gavin? Because if you would have talked to Gavin, you would have understood. And even if you didn't, but to drop it the way that she did, it was very much like, oh, well, since
villain
he's
energy.
Your problem now, deal with this problem and I'm out. What? Girl, let's fight.
That part. Aside from her being the villain, literally should be a Disney villain at this point with her own ride. I think for me, I would have sat him down and been like, what's going on? Number one, you're not a reader. So what are you hiding from me that you started reading these? But also, I would have been like, thank you for doing the homework to help save our marriage. Like, do I love the fact that you had to use someone else's words to reconnect to me? No. And we're going to talk about that. But, like...
significantly.
You know what? He wouldn't have had to use the other person's words if y'all just went to therapy and worked it out. Did you notice that never was there a mention of couples therapy?
Wait. Oh. Really? Wow.
There was never a conversation about going to couples therapy and working on their marriage. She just said, I'm done. I'm kicking you out of the house. We're getting a divorce. There was never, she never made that effort.
I didn't even realize that, but yeah, you're right. Okay, speaking of kicking him out of the house, I hated it. How Thea used Gavin leaving when she told him to leave against him. Here's why.
But if he stayed, he would have been an ass. And if he left, he was an ass.
Right. And so my thing with that is he literally respected the boundary that you put up and left. Right. I understand it. In my opinion, I think he took a little too long to come back. But
I mean, he did find the bottom of a bottle, but you know.
Right. I think he took a little too long to come back for my taste. But at the same time, it's like, if you're right, if he stays, he's being disrespectful to you. He's disregarding how you feel and everything like that. And then if he goes, he's now your dad? That's a big jump. That's a huge jump. Girl, go play some hopscotch because you're missing several steps. Like, I did not like that. I did not like that. I didn't like how she kept throwing that in his face. And he was basically just like, what do you want me to do? Go sleep in the backyard until I can let back in the house? Like, that made no sense.
With the dog. What did you think about him using the book to get her back? Okay. We kind of skipped over that, and I want to hear your opinion.
Okay. So.
Uh-oh.
This is a rough one for me. Simply because I've, like, jokingly said multiple times, like, I can give you an exact book and it's like a playbook how to get me. Because someone kind of wrote the playbook. Just read the book.
Jasmine Guillory?
Yup.
I need to put this disclaimer. Can we just put, like, a disclaimer at the bottom that Chelsie doesn't hate Jasmine Guillory? Could we? Because I feel like it sounds like I hate her. But that's not true.
You don't. You just know that it's just, yeah.
But yeah.
Ashlee to you is what Jasmine Guillory is to me.
Exactly.
And I'm, like, very obsessed because Jasmine Guillory jumped to the top of my favorite author list, like, very quickly and recently.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So it's Chelsea's just messing with me. She has no hate for Jasmine Guillory. Anyway, is that a good enough disclaimer? Do you feel good about it? That Jasmine's not going to
I feel like I just need, like, the ticker tape at the bottom.
I'll put it down. Okay, so to answer the question, I did not have an issue with it, especially because that has never been his way of romancing his wife, even before the kids. Like, verbal communication in that specific regard was never his swag. That was never his thing. That was never his game for getting Thea. So him trying something new, I didn't hate it. Now, as a man, sir, that was a little stupid. Like, and I didn't realize it was one of the Bromance book club rules until they said it later on. So it's like,
yeah,
and it was against the rules. But to the extent of the fact that homeboy, like, studied, made notes, like, had quotes, like, he put the work in to make this. He
annotated a book. I don't even annotate books.
Neither do I. So I thought that the effort should have been appreciated and seen above the not the disrespect, because I don't think it was disrespectful, but above the. I think she kind of felt like she was kind of cheated out of it, because I think she thought that the words were authentic and he was just copying. So I think that the effort should have been held higher than the plagiarism. And
all I'm going to say
you could have had
is
a conversation
that plagiarism got him to the big O. That's all I'm saying.
If it works, it works. Also, can I just say this? I don't really like, nor do I very, very rarely read historical fiction. And it was so funny, like, halfway reading one in the book because of, like, the settings. And I was just like, this is hilarious. And, like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, that's such a sweet story. And then, like, there's multiple other times I'm just like, see, this is why I don't write. I don't read historical fiction. I was like, I would have DNF'd that book so hard.
Oh, 100%. But I do love, number one, that if you're going to listen to the audiobook, they do switch up the narrator and make you feel like you're listening to a whole different book, which I was
in a whole different world. Yeah, completely. Like, he did the accent, and, like, I never question. So, when, like I said, reading with my eyes and ears at the same time, I never questioned who was talking to who when it went from book inside the book to characters inside the book, if that makes sense.
Right.
What I had to go double check with my eyes, and I love that I could go back and get clarity, was when the characters in the book were either texting or they were giving us their mind thoughts versus conversational thoughts. Because there was actually a couple of times where Thea said something and I was like, Gavin, how are you not getting this? And then I was like, let me double check. And I went back with my eyes and I realized she was saying it to herself and Gavin didn't know. And then I was now I understand why he's lost.
Now you get the joys of listening and physically reading at the same time.
No, it's okay. I won't do that often. I can't even remember why I did it. This is why. I'll let you believe that. Absolutely, I do love you. Don't be mad. Well, don't put it on the list or anything either.
My feelings are hurt. I'm no longer doing this podcast. Have fun doing it by yourself. I'm just playing.
I can't even be like, let me recast you, because that would be a nightmare. I would just quit. But anyway.
Wow. Your brain went to recasting me? You can't recast my friendship.
Can we have this fight later?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Don't write it down. Don't write it down. Okay.
You're lucky I don't have a pen near me.
So I wanted to read this with my eyes, but I got the audiobook first. And when I started with the audiobook, I then got it with my eye, and then I got like an ebook version. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, I'm already on the trail. But then there were a couple of times, like I said, while listening, I was like, this, like, what, you know? And the main reason why I always prefer reading with my eyes is because I can kind of go at my own pace, and I can speed up, go down, I can skip ahead and go back, whatever. With an audiobook, if I'm listening to something and I have questions, the audiobook still goes while I have mind questions. And so I often, when I'm reading an audiobook, I have to be like, back, or pause and whatever. So it was really great that while reading it listening with my ears, I can go with my eyes and catch back up to what's going on live and never have to pause the audiobook. So that was an experience I loved, and I will say was very unique, and I love that. Because I can't stand listening to an audiobook and be like, wait, what's going on? Back. Wait, what? Back. Oh, I was thinking about something else. Back. So I like that I could just go and be like, okay, boom, 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 with my eyes, add the context back in, and then be like, okay, cool, without ever pausing the audiobook.
That's fair. I do have a question for you, because I was on the internet, right?
The internet is a trap.
And to be completely honest, I was pulling up the book to make sure I had all the character names right. It's not my fault. The internet trapped me on a Reddit thread. We know Reddit is dangerous, but it did point out something, and I need your opinion on it.
Ooh.
Do you feel like Thea got off easy?
Oh.
Because it was pointed out that Gavin spends the whole book growing as a person, and all she had to do was go to her dad's wedding, and it was magically fixed.
Ooh, I'ma disagree.
Ooh. What's your thought?
Okay, I understand why it would be said that she gets off easy. I understand that. Here's why I don't think so. Because she also learned to put herself first, which can definitely feel and seem selfish. But let's remember, in this established society of women, and her as a mother, and especially the wife of a professional athlete, she is not the first priority. Not even in her own house. So it was in a different way, but she put herself first. She wanted a certain decoration done in the house. I'ma just start and figure it out later. It was stupid, but again, putting herself first. I put my career and my passions of art on hold to be a mom, which is fine. But without this situation with her and Gavin, she wasn't going to be looking to apply for schools right then. It would have still taken time. So her pursuing back her art and her passions and her education. Dealing with the dad, I think for sure is something that came up because of all of this. Because that was Gavin telling her, you got some stuff that you're holding, like, you got some stuff to figure out because you're holding stuff against me that's not even me. And that was the stuff with her father. But I don't necessarily think she got off easy. But I just think her growth was in a different way. Her growth was almost seen as a rebellion. Because the things that not necessarily caused, but the things that were her steps to take growth in herself were the things that were blocking Gavin in his objective. So I can understand it, but I disagree. I think she did grow. It was just in a very different and kind of more self-serving way.
Listen, up to this point, I've been Team Gavin. So just hear me out here. I think she got off easier than him, but I don't think she got off completely scot-free. Okay. Which is fair. So here's my thing. Now, the points you made about her going back to school, doing the house, those things, yes. She absolutely had to do them. But she didn't work on the biggest crux of their relationship. She made that all Gavin and never actually worked on their communication. Gavin put in all the work and she fought him every step of the way. Yeah. And that is where I feel like she got off scot-free. Because it got to the point that he had to leave for her to make it click in her brain. Yeah. How many times did he have to give her space, but she never said, hey, I still want you. I still want this relationship. Yeah. And I felt like, how did you put this man through every hurdle possible for your marriage? It wasn't like Gavin needed to work on himself. Gavin just needed to work on their relationship, whereas she chose to not work on their relationship and just work on herself. And I was like,
yeah.
So what really is your problem here?
I definitely see where you're coming from. And I will say this. I didn't like how, in the sense of pleasure, she definitely put that on him exclusively as well. I did not like that. Because I really love that the author included the, like, false start time that they had, where, like, they started off well and it kind of fizzled out, and she was just like, it's not gonna happen.
And she was like, stop coaching me.
I appreciated that was involved, because, like, that's a real thing. Like, if we're gonna, like, obviously romance is almost always, like, very, like,
perfect.
Sunshine and Rainbows are the ones I read. I know that's not always in your books, but I appreciated that it was, like, a real life element. Yeah. I was very frustrated with her and her response to it, though, because
it was once again all him.
He was putting in the effort, and I understand that it wasn't working for you in that moment. I feel like you could have communicated that a bit more delicately, especially that's something that he's conscious about, and he's trying. And I also feel like it was so like, oh, if you can't make this happen, then just stop completely. Where it's just like, girl, you could have also been like, try this, do this, slow down, speed up, to the left, to the like, let's play video games and try to figure this out.
Here's the thing, right? He was trying to keep her going, right? He was focused. Did I love the words he was saying? Not really. I would have fallen out laughing, to be completely honest.
I laughed when I read it too.
When he said, you're doing it. It's just right. You got this. I was like, are you teaching her how to ride a bike without training wheels, or are you trying to teach her how to have the big O? But the way she snapped at him and was like, stop talking to me like you're a coach. I was like, you could have just said, hey, try this instead. It was almost like she didn't know her own body enough to communicate with him. And I was like, how is he supposed to know? Like, it's all of our responsibilities to teach our partner what we like. So,
and I will say this, let me jump in really quickly. I actually extremely blame Thea. I'm trying not to, like, blame women for things in general. I really do try. But in this regard, it really frustrates me because, y'all, fictional and real life, we got men over here walking around thinking one way, and it's not. Listen, why? They don't need any more confidence. And I'm not saying in terms of knocking down on a peg on purpose, but just, like, communicate.
Women,
if it's not, it's not.
I need
stop
y'all.
Lying. Please stop lying. Please stop lying.
I need y'all to be honest, okay? I need y'all to understand that when you be lying to these dudes and then setting them free out into this world to their next victim, okay? Like,
that is not girl.
You're creating more homework for the next person.
Right.
You're creating more work.
Right.
Because he's now walking around like, I'm the big man on these streets. We all know he ain't, okay? So let's just all be honest, politely.
Please stop lying. Please, I'm begging you, please stop lying to these people. You don't have to tear someone down to inform them. I'm going to just say that. You don't have to tear someone down to inform them. But please stop lying to them. In this specific case, don't do it, please.
So
our little PSA for the people.
You know, now that we're done with our PSA for the people, I do have a confession to make. If you know me, you know I love me a good happily ever after. I love when it's all tied together with a nice, cute bow. Yay, we did it, guys. We made it to the end. Joe, we did it. We did it, Joe. But this happy ever after didn't do it for me.
Really?
It's not that I wanted them to fail. By no means did I want them to fail. But what I didn't enjoy was that he leaves her. He goes to get on the plane, and then just because he finds out that she went to her dad's wedding, everything's fixed. He's now proposing to her again. We all live happily ever after. No. No, I wanted her grand gesture, okay? She needed to grovel. Can I just get a shirt that says Team Gavin at this point? Because, gosh, darn.
I mean, you are the biggest fan in the fan club at this point.
I didn't mean to come into this episode this way. The book made me this way.
Interesting, because I too wanted her to go to New York and go get him. Like, and I wanted them to have like a kid-free, like fresh start, essentially, because that's how they started. It was quick, but they started kid-free. And not to say that I'm not saying that the kids ruined their life. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that you have to be more mindful of the children when you're trying to have conversation, when you're trying to have interactions. Like, it's just an element to think about. Like, look, the kids like absolutely put full on brakes on a situation. So I wanted them to have a kid-free moment.
And knocking on that door. Go to bed.
Everybody, lights out. Like, go get your aunt. Leave me alone. So I just wanted them to have a kid-free moment of her chasing him in New York, and to see and let that be like the thing. But the whole like let's get married right now outside their wedding was a little weird to me. Weird to me.
Highly weird.
Okay. But sure. I didn't agree with you when you first started talking, but now I do agree with you. It didn't wrap up how it could have.
I think for me, what it is we spend this whole book with Thea wanting to be wanted, right? But Gavin also has to be wanted. Yes. So it was like, girl, you're demanding all these things of your man, but the scale is starting to feel tipped. It's not feeling balanced here. So I'm going to need you to make him feel as wanted.
One thing I did not love was when he first kind of started to get his wife back, and like the guys helped him with his wardrobe and everything like that, is Gavin knew Thea more than I thought he did, actually. Because 100%. Like, he knew what she liked, he knew her interests. Like, he actually knew Thea more than I thought he did.
That was the thing. It wasn't that he didn't care. He did care. So why did she say anything?
But the thing I did not love is he's putting in all this effort, and it's working. She's like, oh my God, my husband is hot. Like, all these things. And she never gives him that satisfaction of knowing that it's working. And I get it, because that was her objective, was to stop him. His objective was to get her whatever. But at the same time, like, he was able to tell a little bit in her responses, but he was so unsure, because at this point he was like, do I know? Like, am I right?
Right.
And I did not like the fact that it was working. She was like, yo, my husband is hot. Like, she was fighting demons trying to stay away from that man. And it was just like, yo, be like, you could have said, even enthusiastically, you look good. Go on with your day. But acknowledge his effort.
Oh, you got a haircut. I like the haircut. Pass the milk. Like,
homeboy kept the beard because he was like, I know she like it scruffy. Acknowledge the effort. That's all I say. I think I'm Team Gavin. You know what? I don't like how you've like slowly. I didn't start today thinking we had to pick sides to begin with, but now that we're getting into it, I think I'm Team Gavin. I want to support you, girl, but I think I'm Team Gavin. I'm happy y'all back together. All right.
Thea is not a girl's girl, okay?
Liv is not, for sure. I'm not going to all the way say that Thea isn't. I'm not going to all the way say that.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you that one. All right, I took it a little too far.
Right. I will say this, though. This is something that I loved, and I'm assuming, well, not assuming, I do know, this is a series. You know I love a good series. I will most likely keep reading it. Your book of vibes? Okay. I love that the Bromance Book Club is not just like baseball players from the same team. Walking into the book, that's what I thought it was going to be. That's what I absolutely thought it was going to be. And so finding out that it wasn't, that made me love the Bromance Book Club so much more. The book club itself, and I'm not referring to the book that's titled that, but like the book, yes.
The actual
book, the Bromance
yes.
Book Club community, that's what made me love it even more, is that it wasn't just like all of his teammates and whatever. It was like, no, it's like, you have to be invited in. I love their no cheaters rule. Like, absolutely.
Yes.
I love that it was like some of the biggest hitters in their town. It was, I mean, obviously I know that's like a sports, but like they had politicians. They had like I love that it was a diverse group of
restaurateurs. Like it was good.
That just loved their wives and spouses and partners. Like I love
just needed
that.
some
It
direction.
was a group of men that were in love, that were putting in the effort to keep it alive. Yes,
absolutely. Wow, you're loving the book club.
Why do I act like we don't do this every time? And I'm just like, ugh.
I mean, at this point, it shouldn't be a surprise, but for some reason, it's a surprise to you.
Every single time.
I'm going to ask the questions that need to be asked.
I do want to go second, though. I know that's not a surprise,
like you also ask that question every episode.
I went first once. I do now know that for a fact. I went first once.
Jay, we are nearing on double digits of this show. So for you to have gone once. All right, fine.
Is it impressive? I'm going to stick to that. It's impressive I went once.
You went first once. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I will go first purely because my answer is going to be a little bit longer than normal.
Oh, okay.
So, as we stated, I've already read this book before we had to do it for the episode. I rated it a 4 back then.
Ooh, back then.
Back then, they didn't want me. All right. I would say it's still a 4 for me, which is shocking. Number one, I don't ever reread books, okay? Let me make this very clear. When I say it was hard to read this book, it wasn't because of the material, but because in Chelsea's brain, she already read it. I didn't need to read it again, but I knew because of how my memory works, I needed to read it again. It was a problem. But I think the cute moments are still cute, even when I know they're coming. I think the comedic moments were still comedic to me. Like, when they go on their date and the guys followed them in terrible disguises, I still thought it was funny. But I will say, I found more reasons this time around to make it a 4 and not a 5. And that was very interesting to me before. It was interesting to me now because before I just gave it a 4 as it was a great book, it was cute, but I'm not immediately into the next book. Yes, I did buy another one later on, but that's a different conversation for a different episode. But this time around, I gave it a 4 purely because Team Gavin, and Thea did not put in enough work for me to put it as a 5.
Okay, that's valid. Interesting enough, we are actually at the same rating again. I'm giving it a 4.
I really think at this point in our friendship, we need to stop believing the lies about how we rate books and how we view them. Just because I like some darkness in my life does not mean I don't like the light and fluffy too.
That wasn't why I'm shocked we both had a 4. Come on now.
Okay. Well,
Huh?
I said, fine then. What's your reason?
My reason that I'm shocked that we both had a 4, my reason for rating it a 4.
Both. I want it all. I'm greedy.
Okay. I am shocked that you're giving it a 4. Because I thought you actually would have put it a little bit higher. But I understand why, especially because you just said it. I'm giving it a 4. And which is interesting because I absolutely will want to continue the series. I do like it. But there are some elements that I would like to adjust, and that's really what differentiates a 4 and a 5 for me.
You can't give it a 4 because you want to rewrite it, Jay.
That's why it's the high. What do you mean? It's not like a 4.5 or a 5. Yeah. So yeah. I will reread this book at some point. I will want to continue the series. So it's a solid 4. I can't. Okay. It's not enough for me to get into the 5 territory. It's not lacking in any other ways to get down into like the 3 territory. So it's a solid 4. It's a solid 4. It's a solid 4. I love how that's our view. It's a solid 4. Just full stop. Double down.
Period.
Yeah.
It's a solid 4. Period.
No, I'm just always shocked when we have the same ratings for books. Because of how we process books differently. That's why. It's not because I think you only read a certain type or whatever. It's just because of the way we process a book. Because, I mean, as you guys all know from seeing how we come to our ratings, we approach rating a book differently. So I feel like you go from 5 down, whereas I go from 0 up.
Yes.
Oh wait, or is it opposite?
No. I start at a 5.
Yeah.
I start at a 5. Page 1, we're at a 5. The question is, by page 5, where we at? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I started at 0. Everybody start with a 0. Add your points up till we get to the end.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's always why I'm surprised that we have whenever we have the same rating. It's just because of the way we you start at 5 and go down. I start at 0 and go up. So I'm always surprised that we meet at the same place at any given time.
Any given Sunday.
There we go.
That's another sports reference for my people out there. Now that we've
talked
to
a baseball game though, I haven't been in a minute, so maybe I'll go.
Oh, opening day is always around my birthday, so I'll be in them stands. Don't worry about it. Looking for my own Gavin. What's good? Aaron Judge, call me. All right, call me. I'll move back to New York for you.
You can't move to New York after I done left, girl. Come on now. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in New York.
Well, this is awkward. Aaron, don't listen to her. We will move and I will communicate, okay? And I'll tell you to the left, to the right, up, down, left, right. Got you. I'm sorry to my family for that comment. I think it's time to go.
And with that being said,
I'm hot now. Thank you for watching another episode of the Low Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Chelsie. This is Ashlee. All of our socials are linked down below. Follow us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what y'all thought about this book. Yeah. Is Liv the true villain? Is she an Acacia? Is the question.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, y'all. Don't be an Acacia. We out.
Bye.